Shut up and sit down.
The Reddit iRacing League train rolls on its second station here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Roval layout, for a fantastic 40-minute race with these global Mazda MX-5 cars. Of course, this circuit, pretty new layout, got some tricky bits to it, and this car always brings the competition together. So I'm David Haynes. Joining me will be Aaron Thacker, and in our production is going to be Mr. Michael Derby. Aaron, round 2 of the season.
David, round 2, and we are here. And after a very interesting round 1 last week, we watched the Silverado NASCAR truck and also the COT car raced at Pocono. And wow, that was a wild one with a variety of cars in that race, David. And at the end of that, it was Giovanni Romano coming out on top.
Yep. And John Patrick in the truck class. So both of them lead the top of the points standings coming into this one, which isn't a multi-class event. So just the Mazda MX-5s for this one. It's going to be, like I said, a 40-minute race, but 20 minutes of open qualifying is underway right now. And Aaron, maybe you'll pick a car and we'll ride with them for one lap.
Yeah, David, I'm actually, right now I have my eye on Alex Albert again. He is not the quickest in the session. He is P8, but he is a Mazda Miata veteran, both in real life for the huge-ass racing team and also in the regular iRacing series. So I'm just kind of keeping him. He is following around. I'm trying to see who he's following right now. Yeah, he's following Thomas Ellison, who is also going to be a worthy competitor for this race, who is right now currently in P4. So these guys are not battling on track, but I anticipate Alex Albert is possibly setting up some drafting to pull him a bit further up the session. But right now, Jeff Tyler is P1, Alexander Bueller P2, and Giovanni Romano in P3 right now, David, with just about 7 minutes left in this session. Yeah, and we're watching Alex Albert go inside Thomas Ellison there. I think Thomas Ellison is up to his hijinks.
And here we reach the fastest, most committed section of the race course through here. No brakes, just a teeny lift on the throttle to bring the car at quite high speed through that treacherous bit of track. An inch too far to the left or the right there, and some of those nasty curbs will send you into space, or at least into a wall. He avoids that and comes into the final chicane, also riding the curbs pretty hard there. Does he manage to improve? It's a 126.762, and that is a slight improvement for him, but won't move him up a spot in the order.
And well, I could ask our producer to go to car number 99, Giovanni Romano. He is purple in Sector 1 and does have a draft coming into the final sector here. So, David, I think we may see Giovanni Romano move up the field here. He is coming across into that triable section, which is a bit tricky here. Again, we're going to watch a lot of two-wheel action with these cars here. Giovanni Romano giving us a show right there. David, let's watch what he does on this lap. Did he improve from a 1:2:06 dead? And David, waiting for my timing to refresh.
125.78 he goes to the top of qualifying. So your eyes are correct. That was a very quick lap for him. And the purple car, I think every sector he's in is purple. But specifically some of those were purple on the timing screen.
Indeed. So now let's see if Jeff Tyler... Yes, Jeff Tyler is on track, and Jeff Tyler is entering the same section that we saw Giovanni Romano, and he has 2 cars in front of him. Those two appear to be, jostling for track position as well, but Jeff Tyler looks to be advantageous here, possibly another draft. He's got a car in front of him, and that is John Patrick. I don't know if John Patrick is on a fast lap. Looks like he's going to, pull out of the way. So Jeff Tyler is going to have a very nice run into this high-speed left-right sector, and then he's got Devin Peters in front of him. David, I think he may be getting a draft, and we may watch Jeff Tyler try and grab that top spot back. He was green in Sector 2. This draft is going to help him now. Let's watch Jeff Tyler. How metered is he through here? Didn't get quite as much curb, but he is now across the line. Ooh! He may have touched the wall. And did he get a 0x at the line?
Nope.
No, he did not,
The
David.
125.68 moves him just 1/10 in front of Giovanni Romano at the top of the order. So past the halfway point in this qualifying session, and everyone is trying very, very hard indeed. A lot of position swapping. The top three as they are right now: Jeff Tyler, Giovanni Romano, and then Alexander Bueller.
Yeah, David, I'm trying to see where else we got some other cars here. Let's go down to car number 37, Chris Flamian. He's currently in P14. It looks like he is running about halfway through his lap right now. He's coming into this very difficult and very up and down interior sector. Chris Flamian, he's currently sitting in P14. He was green in Sector 1. Now, David, let's talk a little bit about how much this differs wildly from the previous Phoenix Raceway. Again, I have unfortunately not had the opportunity to race this yet, but my goodness, is this fun to look at. Excuse me, Charlotte, David. This is fun to look at, and wow, these guys taking a lot of curb here and tons of speed, and it looks like it's a lot of fun to drive out there.
Well, certainly the Roval renovations not changed a whole lot with the infield section. That layout's actually stayed the same with the same amount of undulation, but the biggest changes are the two new chicanes, one of which Chris Flamion is approaching right now, the one near the start-finish line. It's got some pretty high curbs there which you've got to bounce over, but it's the backstretch chicane that is the most difficult, catches out the most people, and it will bite you without warning, and that's why we call it the snake pit.
The snake pit, indeed. David, I'm doing another quick scan down the field here, and my goodness, Babs Nation has got something to cheer for. He is currently in P8 with a 126.7. So Babs Nation, David, we've talked about him continuing to strengthen as a road racer, and Jordan Babcock sitting in P8 right now with about 2 minutes and a half left in the session. That is a very impressive run for Jordan Babcock, and Babs Nation's got to love to see that right now.
Yep, some familiar names in the running order, and not necessarily the order we would expect. It's going to be a good race, and the times get closer and closer at the top of the session, because a couple of minutes ago there was, several seconds separating the top from the bottom. It's now a bit more equal.
It is, and David, also do a quick reminder of where we are in the points. So right now, Giovanni Romano is leading the points with John Patrick, also the second part of that in P2, Alex Albert P3, Thomas Ellison P4, Jeff Tyler P5, Philip Linden P6, Alexander Hammonds P7, Austin Burdick P8, Alexander Coffer P9, and Jonathan Dixon in P10, David. So we'll keep an eye out on some of these names tonight. And right now, again, that top group that I was calling out there, David, all of these guys, with the exception of John Patrick, who's currently in P14, those guys are in the top running order in this qualifying session.
Yeah, fantastically close. Just a minute 30 left on the clock, which means that every driver who's out there basically have to finish this lap. They won't have a whole lot of time to start a new one. I don't think anyone who leaves the pit lane now will be able to start another flying lap. So it's just the drivers that are out there now. It's the likes of Brian Molitor, Thomas Ellison, Alex Coffard, and a significant proportion of the field out there trying to improve their qualifying right now. Qualifying probably be relatively important for a race like this. Around an oval, maybe not quite so much.
Yeah, David, I'm watching Thomas Ellison. Oh, my goodness. I thought he was on a fast lap. He had a great pull from another car. He was green in Sector 1 and 2, but he's pulled into the pits and aborted that lap. I really thought Thomas Ellison was going to improve at the end there, David, and with 49 seconds, I think that was a potential error by Thomas Ellison, because I just don't know if he's going to have time to get back around to it and try to improve his time.
Yeah, no doubt that's his qualifying over. And we reach a point where everyone is just a bit more committed, just trying a little bit harder through that backstretch chicane. Through the race, they're all going to have to be careful with it. But here in qualifying, if they need to improve on their lap, going to have to be very, very dear with some of those curbs.
Keep an eye on John Patrick, car number 7. He just crossed start-finish. He was in P13. Did he improve And David, no, it does not look like John Patrick, who is, again, very high in the points, remains in P13. He's just having a very difficult time with the circuit. Yeah, David, his time is locked in.
Yep, there we go. Checkered flag in the air. 2 minutes for everyone who's on a lap to be able to finish it. But not a lot of drivers are able to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I'm watching car 17, Alexander Bueller. He is still on a lap. Oh, and gets very sideways coming out of that back chicane and makes contact with a car. And unfortunately, Alexander Bueller, his final attempt at a lap time is brought to a very dramatic end.
Yep, there we go. That's how tough that final chicane is. I think you might not catch so many people out in the race. They've got the time to be a little bit more cautious with it. But in qualifying, you couldn't leave any time on the table. You had to throw the car through there. Fifth gear, little breathe on the throttle. That's what you got to do in these kind of machines. And you've got to get the line exactly right, turn in at exactly the right place. Otherwise, it will all come undone and quickly.
That is so. And David, I'm not seeing any other cars on grid with just right at 50 seconds left, David. So I'm going to go ahead and run down your top 10. Let's let the people know what we got here. So right now, P1, Jeff Tyler with a smoking 125.6, followed by your points leader, Giovanni Romano. Alexander Bueller in P3 round out that top group. Thomas Ellison P4, Alex Coffer P5, Andrew Fawcett P6, Devin Peters P7, Jordan Babcock and Babs Nation in P8, Alex Albert, who is just behind that in the top group of our points in P9, and rounding out our top 10 is Antonio Alvarez with a 126.768.
Yeah, the remainder of your grid is going to be Christopher Flamion, Nate Franklin, John Patrick, Brian Molitor, Shane Cameron in 15th. 16th is going to be Jeremy Rogers, Alexander Hammonds, then Ryan Verholst, Justin Lemons, David Hall in 20th, and not a bad turnout. Brandon Schulhoff 21st, Philip Linden 22nd, Matthew Tamashiro 23rd, Jonathan Dixon 24th as the time elapsed, and the drivers will take to the starting grid, which bends a little bit around that final chicane, so it's going to be an interesting start from that perspective.
Yeah, indeed. I'm trying to see who is going to get, stuck in that. So it looks like right now, Philip Linden all the way back. Let's see, Brian Molitor is also stuck in that. He's in P14. And so, David, these guys are going to have a heck of a time. You really don't want to start this race with that wheel turn, but some of these guys, that's just, you're not going to really have an option on that. So hopefully you can get the gas down and maybe even give a little bit of spin to straighten that car up. But it looks like anybody who's around the P11 to P14 mark, you're going to have that wheel turned at start. And David, that is going to be very difficult to give yourself a good opportunity into this first sector.
Yeah, it will be a standing start, so everyone deeper in that field is going to have something to think about. Maybe that was the real advantage of qualifying here today, is starting in a straight line and presumably a little bit of a safer start that way. Giovanni Romano is on the grid. Jeff Tyler, your pole sitter, has not gotten to the grid just yet, but he still has time as we gear up to get ready for 40 minutes of racing at Charlotte Roval for round 2 of season 25 of the Reddit iRacing League. Your pole sitter on the grid now. 10 seconds till lights out. Grid forming up. We are just about ready. The lights come on. Revs begin to rise. And we are racing now.
Here they go. We got Jeff Tyler going into turn 1 and Andrew Fawcett. I'm sorry, David, my timing screen is refreshing here.
It's a great start from Alexander Bueller from 3rd on the grid. He passed Jeff Tyler and Giovanni Romano. Romano, your pole sitter, second place, has now been shuffled back into 4th. Jeff Tyler's gotten himself back into the lead, so him and Alex Bueller lead a little bit of a breakaway. Tom Ellison has moved himself up into 3rd.
Yeah, David.
3 wide right behind that, and Andrew Fawcett gets tagged by Giovanni Romano, and he's around in the infield.
Yeah, David, that was just a very difficult 3-wide moment. I was just getting ready to call it, how responsible everybody was. And yeah, just a 3-wide into that section right there. Didn't really have a chance. Unfortunately, he was the meat in that sandwich, and he goes around.
Back up at the front, Jeff Tyler, Alexander Bueller, and Tom Ellison trying to form a little bit of a breakaway. Contact has cost Giovanni Romano even more. He's back into 7th place now as the leaders come through the snake pit for the first time.
Yeah, come to the snake pit. And David, I'm looking at down the field right here. Let's focus on the battle up here. But your winners of spots at the back here, Shane Cameron getting 4 spots on that first lap. Ryan Verhulst getting 4 spots on that first lap, as well as Alex Albert, who's up 3 spots. So lots of gainers back here. But David, these guys are going through the final chicane, and our first lap is done. And my goodness, plenty of action. Unfortunately, our biggest loser on that was definitely Andrew Fawcett being a big spin here. So let's watch how this field continues to play out here. But yeah, Giovanni Romano, David, is also down 5 spots, so a very difficult first lap for him.
Alex Albert's just moved up on Devin Peters, who's a little bit of a cork in the bottle in the midfield. Jordan Babcock and Giovanni Romano going wheel to wheel. Romano will survive that challenge and now try and move his way back up, getting past Devin Peters. Babcock also now dropping behind Alvarez, so a great battle here. 6th on down, and Devin Peters just holding him up a teeny bit at the moment as they go 2 wide further in the background.
Yeah, that was a bit of a moment there for Shane Cameron. Got very loose into the grass and then just all sorts out of shape inside infield section, entering into these banked NASCAR corners. The beneficiary of that is Jordan Babcock. He's going to probably be able to pull away a bit from Shane Cameron and gap himself a little bit. But David, unfortunately, Jordan Babcock is 8/10 away from Antonio Alvarez, which is not going to help him in terms of draft, where that's going to be so important in this race.
Trying to go 2 wide into the snake pit. This isn't going to work. Shane Cameron, of course, gets a huge advantage out of that. Brian Molitor, Nate Franklin lose out. Ryan Verhulst and John Patrick get past Christopher Flamion, who caught some of the curbs very awkwardly. So they're going to run side by side there into the last chicane. And who will be the winner in that one? I think John Patrick has come off successfully there.
Yeah, but David, they're going to try and go 3 wide into turn 1 here. Again, I don't know if this is a good idea, but darn it, they're going to try it. And, oh, we got a spinner there. David, who is that?
I'm looking. That's Christopher Flamion. He's missing a lot of the front of that car on turn 1. Gosh, he'll get an opportunity to try and repair that, but he's had to take a tow.
Yeah, David, he's got a whole bunch of curb and just got that left side way up in the air and just a hard bounce. Car got very unsettled and nosed it right in. So unfortunately, that is not the way you want to start your race. But David, let's pop back up to the front where Alexander Bueller, Jeff Tyler, and Thomas Ellison are very close, as well as Alex Albert and Alex Cofford and Alex Albert.
Yep. Bueller has a couple tenths of a second, but behind that, Jeff Tyler, Tom Ellison, and Alex Coffard getting out of the train for 1 second to look towards the inside. Couldn't do anything about it. But they're going to go side by side on the banking here, approaching the final chicane. It's a solid overtaking opportunity around this circuit. Nothing going this time. And as the HJ boys battle, Giovanni Romano and Antonio Alvarez are still right on the back of that.
Yeah, they really are. This is a very tight group. And David, I'm really going to keep studying how these guys are entering that final chicane. And some guys are taking a whole lot of right side curb and then a whole lot of left side. Some guys are really avoiding that right side curb. So I think it's just a matter of taste and how you prefer to handle that. But a lot of these guys are avoiding that right side curbing. However, Devin Peters very aggressively took both sides as he does his best to keep up with Alex Albert and Alex Cofford, who are hunting down that very quick top 3.
Yeah, Alexander Bueller now finds himself under a bit more pressure from Jeff Tyler than he did earlier. Tyler takes a later apex, more throttle coming back onto the banking towards one of the highest speed sections of the circuit. This is where the draft actually does have quite an effect, especially in these little cars. but how far up alongside have you got to be able to make a move into the snake pit? Well, Jeff Tyler puts his car to the inside. He's going to go side by side with Bueller, and that ends almost in tears for Alexander Bueller. He's ridden that curb hard, a lot of damage on the front of his car. Jeff Tyler survives, and he now leads the race.
Yeah, lots of damage, David. I think that that's something where these guys are going to have to be extremely careful when it comes to pounding these curbs. Yeah, you're going to gain advantage by chopping that corner as much as you can, but you really can hurt the car. David, let's keep on this battle, but I do want to report in the back of the field that Brian Molitor had a bit of an issue in the infield section, and just, my goodness, had a huge moment where he really hurt his car, and he's back in the pits right now, David. He's likely taking his fast repair.
Yeah, indeed. Looked like it might have been a little bit of contact. Nope, he spun that all by himself. And then Nate Franklin's been unable to avoid him.
And, David, we had Alexander Bueller inside the pits taking a fast repair. So, yeah, as you speculated, he likely put some heavy damage on the bottom of that car, very likely damaging the radiator. So, fast repair for Alexander Bueller. David, I don't know if he took any other fuel or maintenance on that car besides that. But he was quickly in and out in 9.86 seconds.
Yeah, paying the price for pride, I think. He'd already lost the position to Jeff Tyler, but didn't want to back out of taking it too wide into the entry in the corner, and that just compromised his line, his entry, and then put Alexander Bueller across the curbing, damaging his car. Really should have given up on that position earlier and then tried to stage a fight back later on. Let's let Jeff Tyler into the lead, but not let him form any kind of breakaway. Other drivers are there still right behind him.
Yeah, and wow, did we see the pull of the draft on that one. Alex Albert was almost 8/10 back, and he has clawed his way right back to Alex Crawford in P3. So Alex Albert was a bit out of the hunt for these final podium spots, but he is right back in it. So Alex Albert started in P9 and is all the way up to P4 right now. That is 5 spots. And David, he's chasing a very quick Alex Crawford, who currently owns the fast lap of the race with a 1:25.62.
I'm watching Antonio Alvarez drop down my timing screen. He was part of that top train of cars. He's in the pit lane right now. Definitely some repairs getting done. I'm not sure of any other maintenance or service. It's unfortunate for him at this point. He's one of several drivers to have taken to the pit lane, including, as you mentioned, Brian Molitor, Christopher Flamion, Nate Franklin, Antonio Alvarez, and, of course, Alexander Bueller. All of them back out there and racing, but that will have cost them some time. They'll have to see what they can manage from here with 32 minutes of racing remaining.
Yeah, David, I was able to find the issue with Antonio Alvarez. He almost did an identical move to Alexander Bueller, just getting way too much curb on that back chicane on the exiting curbs there. The car went completely airborne, spun, and he did hit the interior wall. So he has taken a pit stop now, likely his fast repair, David, and he is unfortunately all by himself right now. So Antonio Alvarez has got a lot of work to do with 31 minutes left in this race.
And the circuit claims more victims because Devin Peters is into the pit lane as well right now. So your leading train that was 7 or 8 not so long ago is suddenly just 4 cars. Jeff Tyler leads Thomas Ellison. Alex Albert has gotten ahead of Alex Coffard, who is now in 4th. This guy's got Giovanni Romano just 2 seconds or so further back. He might be able to catch them, or if he's not quite within the draft or the slipstream, he'll have a very tough job ahead of him.
Yeah, he definitely will. David, let's take a quick check in the middle of the field here. We've got a great battle for 6, 7, and 8. Babs Nation and Jordan Babcock is up to P6, battling with Shane Cameron and Ryan Verhulst as these guys enter back. And David, Jordan Babcock with the big moment there in the spin. I hate to see that was the announcer's curse, but Jordan Babcock with a very big moment coming out of the infield sector there, David. He just got very sideways. I don't know if changing onto the banking unsettled the car. He may just put a little too much wheel into it coming into that section, but no, David, he was actually loose before he even hit the banking section, and just a nasty tank slapper, David. So that is going to be a fast repair for Jordan Babcock. Babs Nation struck again.
Yeah, that car's not looking anywhere near as pretty as at the start of this race. The banking certainly doesn't hurt. You know, if you're in a little bit of a slide, you hit that aggressive change onto the banking, and it'll hurt your suspension a little bit. It'll compress it very suddenly. You might bounce off the bump stops, and with that damage on the car, Jordan Babcock's not been able to get through the snake pit. He's had further issues, a little bit more damage, and really struggling to even bring that thing back to pit road to get them to fix up his pretty Steelers livery.
Yeah, David, and again, we'll stay on the action that we're focused on here, but Chris Flamin has had another big moment, and while he was having that moment, unfortunately, he collected Andrew Fawcett, who was running quite well up in P12. So right now, those two are in the pits with a tow and a bit of a barbecue down in their pit, David. Everybody loves a good barbecue, but not when it's coming out of the front of your car.
Yeah, it's a different flavor. It's a Japanese barbecue, but yeah, it doesn't smell so good with the burning Mazda motor. So, top four still Tyler, Ellison, Albert, and Coffard. Giovanni Romano, your defending champion and your points leader, in fifth, doing what he can to try and catch them, to try and improve his race. And then there's a great battle sixth on down.
Yeah, it really is a great battle, sixth on down. Yeah, let's take a quick pop down to car number 12, Ryan Verhulst and John Patrick. Again, these guys are all in this very fast section, entering this very, very tricky final chicane before you get up to that. So let's watch how these guys approach this. So yeah, again, avoiding a right side. Oh, they actually avoided both curves, David. So a whole different approach. And maybe these guys are watching some of these other cars abuse these curbs a little bit too much and maybe causing some issues. So Ryan Verhulst, John Patrick, and Shane Cameron. Again, this group here really being a little more conservative on some of those curbs. And David, let's pop down again to P11 and P12 with Mashu Tamashiro and Devin Peters, who is on a very difficult recovery drive right now after an early on issue in a very early pit stop. So he's trying to work his way back through traffic. So right now, Devin Peters is down 5 spots from where he started. He's going to go side by side into this very challenging uphill fast sector right here next to Matthew Tamashiro, and yeah, he's going to get the job done. So he's going to move himself up to P11.
Yep, job done for Devin Peters through the infield. Tamashiro not quite as comfortable with the car. Devin Peters really getting it towards the apex through all of the corners in the infield. Now he'll lead onto the banking. Tamashiro will get a little bit of a slipstream, but probably not enough to get alongside before the snake pit. Devin Peters trying to make as best a recovery as he can. Now up into 11th. See how much higher he can go than that. But your fastest driver out there on the track right now is Giovanni Romano. He pulled about 0.6 of a second out of the leaders that last time by. He just needs to do that 1 or 2 more laps and then find himself with the slipstream from Alex Coffard. That'll pull him up into the top, pull him up towards the top 4, and then he can battle for the lead.
Yeah, he definitely can, David, and things are going to get very interesting up here because I've been watching Alex Albert probably the last half a lap here, and he is extremely hungry behind Thomas Ellison. Thomas Ellison with a very metered drive. I think he's driving very smart right now. He knows that Jeff Tyler is very, very quick, but you don't want to sit back and think, maybe second place is mine because I can't quite catch Jeff, because the draft is going to be super important. And we're really going to see it here as Jeff Tyler is about 0.7 up on Thomas Ellison, but he's going to get a big push right here, Dave. Let's watch this back section where they've all been kind of bit a little bit. Everybody with a nice approach. Wow, look how much ground Thomas Ellison has made. So he was 0.7. He's now 0.3, and he's got a huge run. And whoa, David, we may have a 3 wide. Oh, Alex Albert has hit the brakes. Wow, David, that was intense.
Yeah, tough run for Jeff Tyler through the snake pit. Now Ellison comes through. Albert trying to come through as well, becomes the outside on the next part of the chicane. So now 2 wide for second place into turn 1. Jeff Tyler doing his best to carry all the speed through the apex, which keeps him in second place. But they've seen how weak he was through the backstretch chicane. All of the other drivers caught up so much ground on him that time, and they're battling through the last chicane has allowed Giovanni Romano to catch them. He is right there, right on the back bump of Alex Coffard. 5-car battle for the lead. 6th place is Shane Cameron, a little bit of space to himself, and then 7th and 8th is Verhulst and Patrick battling it out. So great battles all through the top 10.
Yeah, these are great battles here, David. I think it's just going to come to who is going to be the most patient, because they're all going to get a very, very good run in this very fast section right here, David. So who is going to be bold, who's going to be responsible, and who's going to see opportunity? Now, how you define each of those in each of these drivers' heads, I don't entirely know, but I think this section right here is a bit irresponsible to go wide. And yeah, Alex Albert thought better right there, tapping the brakes, going back behind Jeff Tyler. Everybody being very careful, trying not to replicate what happened to Andrew Fawcett and Alexander Beeler. So, but yeah, David, we're really seeing is that corner is kind of an equalizer. Some of these guys are really getting it, and some of these guys don't. As you saw, Alex Crawford really not have a great sector right there and lose a bit of the draft, but he's pulled back up, David. So, but then they all get bunched right back up as they approach this infield section. So I really think the opportunity is going to be who can take that first chicane the best in order to give yourself a real opportunity, because when it comes to the finish line, you're pretty much set by the time you hit that second chicane.
Yeah, indeed. Bit of a shuffle from 8th on down. Alexander Bueller has gotten his way up some spots, and it looks like Alexander Hammonds and John Patrick have had some issues. Oh, let's have a look at that, what's occurred there.
Yeah, David, I'm trying to go back here, and yeah, I can't. Unfortunately, David, I couldn't quite pull up the replay, but yeah, it looks like he just John Patrick was up in the wall. The car was crabbing quite a bit, so there appeared to have had some contact with each other and a bit of an issue. But yeah, they are both in their pit stalls right now, likely taking a faster pair and maybe getting some work and maybe slapping in some fuel if necessary.
Through the corner that leads onto NASCAR's 1 and 2, that JP has just gone a little bit wide, and of course he is your equal points leader at this stage in the championship. He's just collected the outside, rearranged his suspension, and it's walls everywhere you go around here. Some bits of the infield not quite so much, but the rest of the circuit, any mistake will be punished, as Tom Ellison, Jeff Tyler are on the pit lane. Is this for fuel, or have they had an issue?
Negative, Dave. Negative. Yeah, they're in the pits. This is likely fuel, and this is the Thomas Ellison strategy of diving in a bit early. However, I would consider this a very late stop for Tom Ellison, considering the fact this is a 40-minute race. But Jeff Tyler has decided that, hey, you know what, Tom Ellison and I have very similar pace. Let's go ahead and pit in together, and we're going to watch this race off of pit road here. So this is a fuel stop only, David. I highly doubt that each of these guys have elected for their faster pair. So Thomas Ellison leaving his box, Jeff Tyler still stationary, and Jeff Tyler
looped it coming out of the pit lane. He's just turned right, got the throttle on too aggressively, and I tell you what, Jeff Tyler damn near did the same thing as well. It's a tricky hard turn in the pit exit, and these two guys in this slightly lower powered Mazda MX-5 just weren't expecting it. But it's such a tight corner, and you put the throttle in a little bit more, and it's going to go around like a Mustang leaving a car meet.
Yeah, Dave, that was a pretty exciting moment for us on screen. Probably not a very exciting moment for those guys in the car. But David, yeah, as you said, these cars are underpowered, but that does not mean a power slide or a drift or a complete spin out is not possible. So right now, luckily for these two, they did not have to run any sort of an undercut scenario, because if they were trying to run an undercut scenario, that blew everything. But however, some people behind them, David, that may open the door for some of these other guys. So it'll be interesting to see where they shake out as these pit stops continue to fall through. So right now, our top 5 have not pitted. Alex Albert, Alex Carver, Giovanni Romano, Shane Cameron, and Ryan Verhulst are our top 5, and they have not pitted.
Yep, that's cost Tom Ellison a lot of time with that mistake that he's made. Alex Albert at the front, trying ever so hard to shake Alex Coffard and Giovanni Romano, the pursuing pair. But it hasn't happened through the infield, and if they're within striking distance on the oval sections, then they get a great advantage of the slipstream there. Missed a couple of apexes through the infield now has Alex Albert, and Coffard has closed up quite a few tenths. He's right there, of course, bringing Romano along as well. They come through NASCAR 1 and 2, and they'll approach the backstretch. We'll see who can be as committed through the snake pit. Albert has to go a lap ahead of the 23 car, who just opts to blow the chicane entirely and let the leaders through.
Yeah, that was a very respectful move from Philip Lind, and I was very unsure of what was going to happen there because that was really going to catch out Alex Crawford and Giovanni Romano. But right now, that has given Alex Albert a very comfortable lead right now. So I really think Giovanni Romano and Alex Crawford need to work together to get back up to Alex Albert, who has doing some very, very quick laps right now. But David, we have a new fast lap of the race, and that is Alex Crawford with a 112. Excuse me, David, that's remaining the fast lap of the race. Alex Crawford holding out, but Alex Albert darn near did it on that last one with a 125.63, just 100th off the fastest lap.
Let's go on board with your third place man, Giovanni Romano, in the purple Mazda Eater. He's trying to stay with Alex Crawford and close down the leader.
Yeah, and Crawford just hit the wall in on that section right there, and that right-hander coming up over the hill, he has tapped the wall, David. So aero is not too important here, but there is knocking out a toe, and my goodness, coming up to these very fast sections, you do not want to have a toe knocked out, and so they're coming up on some lap traffic again. Let's see who that is. Yeah, so Alexander Hammonds is going to probably cause a bit of trouble for these guys. Hopefully he blows the chicane, David, but yes, he's going to. So again, these guys are being very respectful with these leaders and staying out of the way, but my goodness, yeah, I'm really worried if Alex Crawford has done anything to his car, but right now it looks like he's keeping pace and things are going to be okay. And Alex Albert is again catching some lap traffic as he has David Hall in front of him coming into this final chicane across the start-finish line.
Yeah, Paul is on the inside. We'll just back out and let Alex Albert through. Crawford and Romano will have to wait a little bit longer to get through. I think this helps Alex Albert. Here comes Crawford. Romano will try and slot through the same gap, and indeed that works. So 7/10 the lead that Albert has over Crawford. Yet to pit. Some others have taken a pit stop. We're past the halfway point in this race. 17 minutes to go.
Yeah, 17 minutes to go, David, and we can keep on this action here. Unfortunately, Andrew Fawcett has again had another issue, David. He is back in the pits. Again, let's keep that in mind that he started P6 in this race, and he had, unfortunately, an incident at the very start where it's just a big accident, and unfortunately, this incident itself was self-inflicted, David. So, Fawcett, this race was looking like a fantastic opportunity for a great finish, and it all has really been taken away from him with about 17 minutes left in this race.
Yeah, exactly. And Alexander Bueller has come through the field a little bit. He's now managed to work his way back up into fourth after taking a pit stop.
Yeah, he is, and I'm keeping a close eye on this top battle here. So these guys have made some progress back on Alex Albert, so likely due to a bit of traffic management, no fault of Alex Albert's. Things just get very difficult right here as these guys are entering this infield, this very challenging infield section here. I love this corner right here, David. In this car, this is flat out, and you maybe have to do a bit of a lift on the way through there, but if you can keep it floored, you can. And this is a very delicate balance on the brake here. You're tapping the brake, you're tapping the gas, trying to figure out when you can settle the car. But man, these guys are looking very quick here, David, and right now it looks like, yeah, the winners on that last lap, yeah, Alex Albert did a 127.1, followed by Alex Crawford and Giovanni Romano, pretty much 126 even. So about a little over half a second faster. So these guys really have caught up to Alex Albert, David. But I think we're entering some pit window concerns. Who's going to make the move first? And I'm trying to figure out if Alex Albert goes down now. Do Alexander Crawford and Giovanni Romano follow? I would say yes. Alex Albert going very defensive into the middle chicane here. Let's see how they both come out. Again, watching that, Albert getting a little loosey coming there, but a nice drive out of the corner there, David. So yeah, these guys have got to be thinking pit strategy right now. Coming, oh, and Giovanni Romano with a bit of a moment right there. My goodness, he almost ran into the back of Giovanni Romano almost ran into the back of Alexander Crawford. That was a very difficult moment there. Nice recovery by Giovanni Romano, but that was a very scary moment. And then we watch Alex Crawford almost hit the outside wall again, going into that first sector. Wow, that was tight. going down the field, and it looks like Jeff Tyler continues to climb his way back through the field as he has made his way past Shane Cameron in that final sector. So Jeff Tyler is working his way back up. Let's keep in mind Jeff Tyler and Thomas Ellison darn near ended each other's races individually, coming out of the pits with a pit stop exit issue. Thomas Ellison going completely around, and Jeff Tyler doing a very showman drift, unintentionally, of course. And so he is coming back around. Let's do a quick check on Thomas Ellison. Yeah, Thomas Ellison is right now, yeah, he is about almost 2 seconds back from Jeff Tyler, so he has got some work to do. But Thomas Ellison needs to hunt down Shane Cameron, who is running quick, but Thomas Ellison is about 2 seconds faster than that. And it looks like we've had a shuffle at the top here, and oh my goodness, Alex Albert has spun. Alex Albert has a ton of damage, and my goodness, so this back chicane, I'm watching this right now, Alex Albert coming through here. Oh, he just got way too much curb on the right side, and it hits the, oh my, hits the outside wall, and a self-spin takes a lot of damage. Alex Albert, it looks like the car is going to be drivable, but my goodness, our leader of the race has taken a big spin and a big moment, and he is, yeah, he is crabbing back to the pits. That is a very cockeyed car right there, likely a very damaged rear axle. So I fear that Alex Albert's race is over with just 13 minutes left in this race. Looks like he's going to take a fast repair, but my goodness. So Giovanni Romano and Alex Crawford, that leaves them completely by themselves. But Alex Albert, that is just completely devastating for our P3 driver in points. So right now, that leaves our points leader Giovanni Romano in P2 in this race. So wow, that is a big shakeup in the points for sure. And our P2 points leader John Patrick, he is working his way up. He's up to P10 right now, so he is up 3 spots. Wow, these guys are having a heck of a battle, but we continue to watch this back chicane, which is so quick and it requires so much confidence, continue to take out some very important drivers in this race. Gonna work our way down the field, and yeah, it looks like we had we're keeping an eye on Thomas Ellison. He has caught Shane Cameron. He is now half a second back, so these two are approaching this section that has been out way too. Oh, we have another issue in front of him. These guys have got to be careful. There's a car on its lid up in front of them.
Brandon Schulhoff through the snake pit has been bitten.
Yeah, David, that was just, we've seen so many incidents here, and I'm sure you've been watching as well, but my goodness, another car went completely airborne. Alex Albert was last bitten, and then Brian Schulhoff, just, David, that was a spectacular moment for Brian Schulhoff in front of our pack here that is going to be at the top of the group when they level out.
Yeah, it's really reached a do-or-die section of this race. A lot of drivers now having taken their pit stops, getting into the last quarter of the race. Everything to fight for. Some drivers are driving over their heads.
Yeah, driving over their heads indeed. And David, we have Shane Cameron in the pit, so he is one of 3 cars that had not pitted. So that leaves Jeremy Rogers and Giovanni Romano, the only cars that have not pit. So my goodness, David, we've got just about 11 minutes left in this race. But we've seen that David, this race is not over. If you remember the final race last year at VIR, we saw engines blowing left and right with these Mazdas, which we were just absolutely dumbfounded by. These cars are holding together in this race, but my goodness, there is a section of the track that is just eating these cars alive.
Yeah, indeed. Started with lots of drivers. We've lost a few. We've had a few that have had to make some quite significant repairs to their cars. Giovanni Romano, though, is the fastest man out there right now in the lead, hasn't pitted, and he is flying along. Alex Coffard has 2nd place, and then Bueller and Tyler with a bit of a battle for 3rd.
Yeah, David, and let's talk about Alexander Buell with a fantastic recovery drive. Let's keep it in mind that really, and he's going to watch out for that lap car. Alexander Bueller goes very deep in the corner, and he's, whoa, my goodness, car number 12. Oh, and Jeff Tyler's hit.
Makes contact with Tyler.
Yeah, David, so, I was just getting ready to...
He was caught off guard by Bueller coming through, and then he's tapped the outside wall and then tapped Jeff Tyler.
Yeah, David, I was making a comment how Alexander Bueller had a very scary moment, him getting loose in front of him and almost fishtailing, but then, my goodness, it wasn't over, and Jeff Tyler gets brutally side-slapped, and Jeff Tyler has taken a toe. So, David, we're at it again. It wasn't the track this time, but it was the drivers that unfortunately caused an error. And, David, right now, Alex Crawford pretty much incident-free in this race. David, he can keep his nose clean. I think he's got this one in the bag.
Yeah, well, certainly it's a race to survive now, and back onto the backstretch comes Alex Albert in 5th place. He's having to dodge the rather wounded car of Ryan Verhulst. Less wheel-to-wheel battles in the top 10 now because they've been spread out by some of these incidents. But there's going to be some big winners who've just managed to keep their car clean in this race. So Alvarez and Cameron have a bit of a battle now.
Yeah, they really do. So let's keep an eye on these guys. And David, as we watch this battle, these guys are just a bit spread out. Let's talk about the Dick Insider hard charger of the race, which is the driver who qualified, gains the most spot in the race, David. And with just under 9 minutes left in this race, that looks to be Jeremy Rogers, who is up 10 spots, started in P16, worked his way all the way up to P6. So Jeremy Rogers is having a very, very good drive. And yeah, David, everybody's a bit spread out right now. It looks like our closest battle. Yeah.
Why do you do this? Jeremy Rogers into the pit lane right now, just because you've mentioned he was in 6th place. What that does is elevates Antonio Alvarez into 6th, Shane Cameron in 7th, and I think Alvarez is nursing just a little bit more damage than he'd like. This is letting Shane Cameron close in ever so slightly, and both of these guys have pitted, and they get Ryan Verhulst right in the middle of their battle. He's come out of the pits to repair his car. How much time is this going to cost Shane Cameron? Or is Verhulst now with a fresh car able to get past Alvarez? It's a 3-car battle, but not for position. Verhulst is taking some rather defensive lines to keep Shane Cameron behind him, prevent Shane Cameron from putting him a lap down.
Yeah, definitely trying to be very defensive here. Again, I don't entirely know how necessary that is. So Shane Cameron's going to probably work the draft as much as he can here, as he's got, Ryan Verhulst in front of him, and then Antonio Alvarez in front of him right there. So these guys are going to give each other a nice pull. But, man, Shane Cameron has just got to make some quick work of this. And David, Giovanni Romano is still on track with 7 minutes left. David, I don't know if it's possible to no-stop this race, but I'm trying to think. We've seen Giovanni Romano do it before. He did it at Barber Motorsports Park in the Skip Barber, where he was the only car not to stop, David. So he is a fuel management expert, and I don't know if there's an opportunity for that here, David, but we may see another very special moment of fuel saving from Giovanni Romano if he keeps this up with just under 7 minutes left in this race.
Battle for 6th is on. Alvarez has been well and truly caught by Shane Cameron. Now it's a bit of a scruffy lap for the South American. So Shane Cameron closes right up, and I think the pressure is just getting to Alvarez, who has a bit of a slide through the infield, runs it out as wide as you're allowed, and then a tiny bit more through the middle of the infield. But Romano is into the pit lane, and I think that answers your question, Aaron.
Yeah, that answers my question. So no fuel savings shenanigery here, or magicry, or a magic trick, should I say. But yeah, this battle for 6 and 7 is really, really exciting, because Antonio Alvarez is really pushing his car. He's testing limits of the track. He got very, very loose and had to run the car very wide entering this banking section here. So let's keep an eye on who is going to keep a level head to this very fast section, David. And I'm going to keep an eye on the speed cameras here to see just exactly how fast these guys are taking that. Yeah, David, so that is 110 miles an hour, cranking
Alex
the wheel
Albert
left.
Topped a motor from 5th place. So from 5th place, Alex Albert is bringing it back onto the pit lane.
That is so unfortunate for Alex Albert. Yeah, David, I'm trying to see where he... David, that is another incident. The exact same issue. He came into that final chicane and just... Yeah, David, this time he actually got too much of the left side of the curb and just shot himself right up into the wall, David, and just buried that right front wheel into the wall. And, David, I think his day is probably done.
Nope, he's managed to get that thing fixed. He's coming back out on track in 7th place, but he nearly did Tom Ellison with a spin in the exit of that pit lane. That's catching a lot of guys out in 2nd gear, clearly a little bit more peppy than what they're used to, and it's a very, very tight turn on the exit of that pit lane, so he's going to come out behind that battle between Alvarez and Shane Cameron that still continues, but now for 5th place.
Yeah, for 5th place, Shane Cameron just cannot get himself past Antonio Alvarez. I think, yeah, the draft here is a massive help, David, but you really have to get the job done before this sector here. You really just have to pray that the driver that you're trying to pass is willing to give up the danger and not brake too much. Whoa, we see Antonio Alvarez get very, very close on that left side curve there. But so we're going to watch Shane Cameron. He may have an opportunity here. Antonio Alvarez taking a bit of an interesting line, and now he's going to dive down. Oh, he's going into the pits, David. Antonio Alvarez is going into the pits, David. He's already had a pit stop this race, so I am unsure what he is pitting.
Rode a lot of curb through the snake pit this time. He might have picked up just the tiniest bit more damage that's required him to pit, or his earlier pit stop was too early to be able to fill the tank to get to the end. This might be a 4-lap splash and dash for Antonio Alvarez. Let's see. Well, he gets the repairs done, pops the front bumpers out, takes a tiny bit of fuel as well, so he's going to lose a bit of track position, but now he's got the best looking car that he's had all race. He might be able to make up a position or so on maybe on John Patrick, but he's only going to have a couple laps to do so.
Only a couple laps to do so. And David, again, while we've got just a few minutes left in this race, we have a new Dick Insider hard charge of the race. That is Shane Cameron. Again, we were talking about him earlier. He pitted, David, so he remains our biggest opportunist in terms of that. Next, that is David K. Hall. He's up 8 spots. He's currently running in P12. So, David, everybody is quite spread out right now, but right now, I just want to shout a big kudos to Alexander Buehler, who at the very start of this race had a big incident, had to take a faster pair very early, and David, he has regained his P3 spot. So Alexander Buehler with a fantastic drive, and Thomas Ellison, no recovery drive for him, maybe a bit of a error correction on his spin out of the pits, but Thomas Ellison has recouped his P4 position, and then, yeah, Shane Cameron rounds out our top 5. So Giovanni Romano, Alex Covert, Alexander Buehler, Thomas Ellison, and Shane Cameron are our top 5 with about 2.5 minutes left in this race.
Yep, so the pit stops, the accidents, all of that, separating out some of the fantastic battles that we had. Nate Franklin and Jeff Tyler. I see Jeff Tyler is flying along on the last lap. Has now caught himself up within a second and gone past. Is there a problem for Nate Franklin?
No, David, I don't believe that was. I don't believe that was a courtesy pass. Nate Franklin tapped his brakes repeatedly before that corner. They're likely saying, "Hey, man, go ahead and go by." So I'm not sure what Nate Franklin was doing there. Maybe notice that Jeff Tyler is extremely quick on this track. Jeff Tyler doesn't have a lot to gain at this point, so I'm a bit confused by that moment, especially since Nate Franklin. I'm trying to see where Nate. Yeah, so Nate Franklin is P11 in points, but yeah, Jeff Tyler's P5 in points. So maybe Nate Franklin is conceding to the higher points driver, but yeah, a bit confused by that move there by Nate Franklin.
Let's have a look at 3rd place, though. Tom Ellison's closed up a fair bit on Alexander Buehler for 3rd, and they had David Hall in the middle of them for a second there, but he's released these 2 to battle. I think Alexander Buehler is still nursing just a bit of damage on that car, as Tom Ellison is a little bit cleaner. Certainly the front left quarter panel's a little bit nicer. He's closed up quite a bit through the infield. What can he do through the oval section?
Yeah, he's going to have to make some big moves here, David. And yeah, to your point, Alexander Buehler on that last lap did a 129.7. Thomas Ellison with a 127.2. So very big difference in lap times here. Now let's see how these two enter here. And yeah, they do have a car in front of them, and that is Chris Flamin, who unfortunately is many, many laps down. He's had a very difficult race. But Alexander Buehler is going to benefit from that draft. As you've seen, he's a little bit down on speed, I believe. So Tom Ellison is going to need to study where Buehler is going to be taking his lines and where Thomas Ellison can find an opportunity, David. And I believe these guys are likely coming up to the white flag here.
Yes, I believe Giovanni Romano, your leader, is taking the white flag right now. 20 seconds left on the clock, and the problem for Alex Bueller, he's just gone straight up into the outside wall. That lets Thomas Ellison through into third place. I'm going to have to take a look at that one again, see what happened.
Yeah, David, I don't know. That was an extremely violent move up into the wall. The only thing I can think that was possibly a hardware failure. Yeah, David, he got down on the apron a little bit and then shot up to the wall and just ended his race. And my goodness, Thomas Ellison, that had to be a just heart-stopping moment and to not get hit right there. But Alexander Bueller has pretty much removed himself from this race from what I can anticipate as a hardware failure.
Yeah, and that moves Shane Cameron up into fourth place. So now 11 positions gained, absolutely cementing his position as the Dickens Cider hard charger. Giovanni Romano is on the final lap. He is your race leader, looking to go back to back, not only as season's champion, but race winner this season. He's got one more braking zone to go as he successfully navigates the snake pit. He'll only have the last chicane to go before he can be crowned your winner. Season 25, Race 2 of Reddit iRacing League. He comes towards the final chicane. Doesn't need to take any risk. He's 8 seconds clear of Alex Coffard in second. So the checkered flag waves for Giovanni Romano. We cast our attention back to 6th place.
Yeah, Jeff Tyler just made a very good move on Tony Alvarez into turn 1. And so Jeff Tyler continues to drive with the red mist after an unfortunate incident with a lap car about 15 minutes ago. So Antonio Alvarez is a bit in the opportunistic seat here, but as we've seen before, just because you have a draft on this track, David, does not mean you are guaranteed a spot here. So Antonio Alvarez, he's got to maintain a close draft here, so it's going to give him an opportunity. So who is going to get the best run through this corner here? And David, Antonio Alvarez is going slow. David, could he be out of fuel?
It's entirely possible that he has run out of fuel. If he had, and I was him, I would just blow that backstretch chicane. They pass Ryan Verhulst, who looks like he might also be out of fuel. So Jeff Tyler released on the final moments by potentially lack of fuel for his competitors. But this means Alvarez could be swallowed up by John Patrick behind. Into the final corner they come. Who is that right behind? Yeah, John Patrick has an opportunity. Can he steal it at the line? No, Alvarez just had enough in the tank to splutter home in 7th. John Patrick gets 8th. Jeremy Rogers has managed to just get past Nate Franklin as well to the line.
Wow, that was that was a very interesting moment there for the end of the race right there, just really squeaking by. But David, we didn't really anticipate this being much of a fuel saving race, but you really saw a few of these guys have to do a splash and dash, and then we saw the end of the race there running out of fuel. So David, we continue to not be disappointed with every single race, and with round 2, another big moment with these Miatas. This car was a lot of fun to watch here, David, but this track just ate some of these cars alive, and unfortunately, we've had a lot of fast repairs taken here.
Yeah, never predictable, never boring, but Giovanni Romano shows that a bit of consistency, a clear head will prevail in this series as he takes his 2nd win. Take a look down your finishing order. Romano grabs 1st position and his 2nd win of the season. Alex Coffard comes home in 2nd place. 3rd place goes to Tom Ellison. 4th, it's probably a great result for Shane Cameron. I'm sure he'll be happy with that one. 5th is Alex Albert. His title hopes this season not off to the greatest of starts, but there's still plenty of time left. 6th goes to Jeff Tyler. 7th, Antonio Alvarez coughs across the line, ahead of 8th place John Patrick. 9th place, Jeremy Rogers. Good run from him. And 10th, Nate Franklin limps it home.
Yeah, and the rest of the group here, David Hall, P11, Alexander Hammonds, P12, Jordan Babcock and Babs Nation in P13. P14, Alexander Bueller. P15, Ryan Verhulst. Philip Linden, 16. Chris Flamin, who had a very difficult night in P17. Jonathan Dixon, P18. Brian Molitor, P19. And rounding out year 20, Justin Lamons. Finishing the group out was Brian Schulhoff, Matthew Tamashiro, Andrew Fossa. Again, had a very difficult night. Started P6 and just never got it back going. And then Devin Peters, also a very, very tough night, rounding out your field in P24.
Well, we've got our race winner here. We're going to have a quick word with him. Giovanni, tough race for a lot of people out there. This track's got a lot of walls very close and a lot of very, very aggressive curbs. How'd you survive out there for 40 minutes?
Well, it was an interesting race. I had a bit of a sloppy first lap. Ended up being the meat in the sandwich of a 3 wide. I apologize to Fawcett for getting into him. After that, I ended up catching up to the lead pack and sort of just coasted there because passing so hard here. Kept my car off the curbs in the snake pit that everyone's dubbed it that. And I ran the car out of fuel, and so I was the last one to pit. And when I came out, it looked like everyone else had issues at some point or another. And I brought it home from there.
Tell us about that fuel, because it looked like a couple of other drivers might have run out on the final lap. Is there anything that would have maybe thrown off their calculations? What were you looking for, consumption? How many laps did you have to take of fuel?
I think the draft would have made a difference for a lot of people. So I had the luxury of being in the draft for a decent amount of the race. So I was lifting and coasting in a few spots just to make sure, give some insurance on the fuel. Anyone who was out of the draft, maybe it would have been really tight on fuel.
Well, a great start to season 25 for you. A win in round 1, a win in round 2. Next round is in 2 weeks' time because we take the week off for Easter. But the NASCAR Cup Chevrolet SS at Watkins Glen, is that something that takes your fancy, or will that be an off round for you?
Oh, I'm going to love that because I picked that one as my reward from winning last season. And that would be really fun because everyone wonders what NASCAR running the boot would look like. So I figured we'd try it out.
It's for the good of the people that everyone gets a view of that. It's science, it's research. Thank you so much for that. Anyone, any thanks, any shout outs?
Thanks to you guys for the broadcast. I always enjoy watching it back afterwards. And thanks to the admins for running everything.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your words. And we're now going to move on, and Aaron Thacker is going to speak with our second place man, Alex Coffard.
Alex Coffard, congratulations on a very consistent and pretty much error-free P2 tonight, sir. Walk us through your night.
Yeah, had a qualifying put me top 4, top 5, I think, and once we're in that first group of cars, I decided just to draft. There's no reason to try to push out in front, and as Giovanni said, it seemed like everyone's having incidents. I was not immune to that myself. I took a pit, and on my flying lap out, I hit the curb, ruined my suspension, and was instantly second or 2 laps slower. So unfortunately, I thought I had an amazing chance to fight for the win, and instead I just had to limp it home. So a little bit frustrated that I went curb jumping, but all around I can't complain. I kept it out of the wall, and it was a fun race.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the theme of the night, was curb jumping, and we watched so many big incidents. We watched, unfortunately, Alexander Bueller take a big moment very early on in the race. Talk us through that back chicane where you guys are entering that section between 108 to 112 miles an hour. I mean, that is a quick snap left and a quick snap right. Is there any opportunity for you to correct it if you get it wrong?
Not really. It's normally not even the first curb that ruins your suspension, but it kind of shifts you. If you hit the curbing on the right, it shifts you to the left, and if you hit that one, I think those are the curbs that really take the big bite out of the suspension. And once you're driving with a crooked wheel at high speeds, it's just really hard to control.
Yeah, I can't imagine what that is like. Well, Cofford, we really enjoyed watching your drive tonight, sir. Very consistent drive, grabbing yourself a P2 all the way back from P5. So congratulations. Any thanks or shout-outs before you head out tonight?
yeah, thanks to you guys. And Aaron, I'm hoping to see you at a champ car race this year. Any luck in that?
I appreciate your time tonight, so thank you for the interview. David, I have Thomas Ellison up next, Mr. P3 tonight. He's all yours.
Tom, third place. Tough race for a lot of people, and that backstretch chicane really bites.
It does. It does. Although, conversely for me, apparently pit exit also bites. I don't know.
We did see that one. Tell us about that, actually.
That was my shameful moment. I pitted a little bit earlier than I intended, just because I was in the lead for some reason. We were catching some traffic. Jeff said he was pitting because he damaged his suspension. So I thought I may as well pit. We're in the pit window, try and find some space, maybe draft with Jeff on the way back, and see if we could make a little bit of a gap to the other guys. However, came in, hit the pit lane, good. Stop, good. Right amount of fuel, good. Then coming out of the pit lane, you have to go wide past the car in front. Come around, just put a bit too much lock into it, a bit too much throttle, and around she goes. No damage, but about, I'd say, 7-8 seconds lost, and a lot of egg on my face.
Are you going to have to get used to driving a Mazda MX-5 this year with a little bit more power than you're used to?
Indeed. Our champ car efforts are looking good for Team Hugh Jass. Alex, Darby, and Jim put a hell of a stint in over this weekend to finally mate up the new 1.8 engine, put it in the car, and we're excited that looking like we're pretty much on track for our Watkins Glen first event in about 6 weeks' time. I'm looking forward to
RiL. Thoughts? Third place in this race. What's your expectations for your season?
I don't have any, frankly. I'm not in the league of the Coffords, of the Alberts, of the Giovannis of this world. My expectation and my personal goal for this league is to continue to run it as efficiently and as fairly as possible, and then to try and enjoy the racing as and when it comes. I've been lucky. I had a second place last week, lucked into a third place this week. Some few issues of cars around me, and I'd like to keep that momentum going. I think, frankly, a top 5 would be just dandy for the end of the season.
Well, best of luck for that. We'll see you again in 2 weeks' time at Watkins Glen for Reddit iRacing League, I hope. Anyone you'd like to thank?
Of course. Thank you to you guys for putting on this broadcast. It's always a pleasure to speak with you after the race. It's particularly good if it means I've had a good one myself. And thank you to everyone who came out tonight. I just want to touch on that briefly. There were some issues this race with some incidents between drivers and some associated talk in the Discord. Just to let you know that we do take that seriously. We will look at the incidents and we'll post any outcomes or incidents or judgments that come down from that once we've had a chance to review it. So just to let you know that will be looked at. But thank you.
Well, there we go, Mr. Tom Ellison, third place for him. Aaron, that just about wraps up round 2 here, and it had plenty of everything. Very action-packed 40 minutes.
Yeah, a very action-packed 40 minutes. And David, I was just blown away by the issues these guys were having with some of these bumps out here. You know, that Mazda, it's not the lowest riding car, but it's not the highest riding car here. We just saw tons of guys trying to gain as much time as they could by hopping some curves. And yeah, as they call it, the snake bite section, I believe is what they were calling. But man, some of those curves were just eating these cars alive. And I think these guys are going to look for a bit of a break in terms of wheel travel when they go to Watkins Glen in the Monster Energy Silverado here in about 2 weeks.
Yep, so we hope you'll join us for that one on HJBC, same time in 2 weeks. And if we don't see you before then, have a very happy Easter and a good night from all of us here.